So, guys, welcome to today's edition of the Reflect, Align, and Thrive. We've been running this podcast for a while, and I've been the host, Simon Ifeanyi, and with me has been the co-host, Sanjiva. Sanji has been an amazing partner on this journey. I am a life coach, and Sanji also is a life coach and a meditation and serenity coach. He's been a monk for over 20 years and he has a wealth of experience with which he has been able to transform societies and environment and the lives of people. And he's joined me to cover very strategic, important matters that really affect our society. So once again, guys, thank you for joining and thank you for listening. And Sanjay, thank you. It's always wonderful
Welcome.
having you in every conversation. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
today we will be continuing our series that we've been dealing with, and it's around the matter of the silent epidemic, which we'll call addiction. Addiction is rising, growing, destroying, causing catastrophe, causing problems in different areas of our lives at different times. And these are matters that we really need to look at. So we started by talking about what addiction is and how it affects our life. But since that, we've been taking it gradually, one at a time, and dealing with it. And in today's edition, we'll be dealing with porn addiction. Porn addiction is insanely destroying lives, family, destroying societies in different ways, and we'll have to look at it deeply. So the first thing I want to ask Sanjay is, why is porn so addictive in our society today?
Mhm. Thank you so much, Simon, and then Peter is also here, and then many people will join later on. So it's always nice to be here, and Simon picks very nice, like very questions that are really related to us, or like even the generations to come, or like generations before also. So this is another thing. We spoke kind of lot about this when you were talking about sexual addictions also, but this is another field itself within that field of sexual addictions, no? So yeah, surely, Simon, we can see, because sexuality is like one thing that is like in our part of our life, right? So and it's considered very intimate, and uh, even in animal kingdom we see this, no? The, how to say, the even the animals, to find a mate they have to do so many things, uh, and they even fight with each other, right? To show who's the strongest, but it's actually to bring the next generation, no? The strongest in the sense like, because the female chooses the stronger, so after the fight, that doesn't mean they have to kill themselves, no? But some, like you can see, like they show their strength in different ways, no? And then the more strongest remain, and then that one starts to breed. uh, so then the generation which comes will be more stronger, more healthier, more resistant, no? To diseases or even predators, all these things. uh, so eventually, like, we are also animals and we are also beings. So the idea was to actually, like, have the next generation. So there were, in ancient times, people actually getting involved in these intimate activities just to bear children. But later it became like a leisure thing, and it became like, now it's becoming like out of hand also. No, it's going way overboard. And the thing is like, the we people, because it seems so, uh, in a way, so difficult to get, because you have to do so many things in real life, right? You have to find a proper partner. Just you cannot just say, okay, come with me, no? You have to have something, no? Income and a place to stay. A lot of things should be done, no? So but in this digital world, or before that maybe printed matter or some kind of way or form, it's easier, right? Uh, and then people get the thrill of it, and somehow they're trying to express it or put it out in some way or another.
mm,
Since it's a part of that our life, and according to the process also of uh, how to say making new generations. Uh, so if a person is able to get it without uh, doing all those difficulties, for example, now people can just go to the internet maybe. Uh, then with that, they just need the mobile device or something. Usually, many have now, right? And then they can, if they know these addresses and all these things, no, the links or something, they can reach those sites. And not only that, there could be like ads and things that even are provoking people, no. So the addiction can happen because it seems something special, or like the hormones and all stimulate, uh, especially in the very younger generations, like when you are teens, no, and then young adults, or even when you become adult, no. And then if a person can reach all those things, like without going through all those difficulties, without taking a person to a date, no, or like or going further and further, or without bearing those responsibilities, uh, and then what happens is they, but in another way, they get caught up in it. Like people
mm,
take alcohol or drugs to forget their problems. But what
yeah,
happens is they get more and more addicted, and everything starts crumbling down. So in pornography, also the problem is like uh, people might start, or just even youngsters can start just exploring it, huh? But they don't know they get themselves like really caught up, and it can ruin their lives, maybe mental health, relationship, responsibilities. All these things can be damaged in a big way. So it's very
mm,
addictive.
wow. The, I like how you put it, the the usage of it. But that brings me to another kind of question that we're not always asking. I've had scenarios, I've had events and situations where um, couples use say things like it's more like a stimulant sometimes to get in the mood, and this is a conversation we don't really have too much of.
Mm-hmm.
My question now is it is there anything good about pornography? Is there a good side? Is there an amount of usage that can be measured and you say, okay, you know what? This amount of usage is a good usage. This amount is a good amount of usage. Is there something good about pornography?
Mm-hmm. Simon, you also please tell your ideas and viewpoints and all this you share. So
Yeah.
the only problem is, Simon, like it's unrealistic, no? These actors, actresses, and they are done in artificial background, and then the even the, I would say, the people can really lose the idea of love. It turns into just lust. So it's not real. That's the biggest problem. So I don't know, like if it's suitable to recommend for somebody, because yeah, uh, maybe to get some ideas, maybe. But I don't know how successful it is. Like if they see like
Mm,
things that are not even real, and they expect their partner, male or female, to perform those, and if they have some kind of difficulty, because like this is like going on for hours, maybe, right? But they, it says like they take breaks after that. They take different things to like make them stronger, or even the process that happens after that. They fake some things.
mm.
So they have breaks and all this, but they, after all, they make it like it's like one thing.
Yes, exactly.
So from that, like even if
Mm,
it's an innocent couple and they see these, uh, or later at some point when they see, children can get a real bad idea from this. They can forget
yeah.
love, romance, and all these things, or feelings, kindness, compassion, understanding, all this. and they can just act like machines. But even if it's a
Yeah.
married couple, Simon, like what if like they think, oh, what we are having is not enough? Or what they if they go overboard and my partner is no use, male or female, uh, they cannot do as such things. Then they will try to find alternatives, right? That can destroy maybe their parents. So I don't know. It's better to consult a sex therapist or somebody like that, uh, because there are no therapists like that for that reason. Because just jumping into porn doesn't seem a very brilliant idea. Just to get some sex education or something, or make your spice up your marriage. Uh, so the couples can discuss within them, but they will have to agree. But some couples, even watching pornography, they consider it as cheating because they're fantasizing of another person. It could be an actor or actress, but the thing is like it's not them, right? Some I have seen like they when they ask like, if you have me, why would you want to look at these other women or men? And they select these specific people, no? They are in how to say the most private areas, and then they they select specifically people like that. So it's not the average person. Even they sometimes take. So then the expectations or the fascinations, all these things can change, and the boundaries of marriage or the unity of marriage can shatter very easily. Because this is a very
Exactly.
sensitive topic. It's like if you leave gasoline and fire, right? It just
Mm,
can, uh, even if it's in a very good, we see like without none of these, like very good people suddenly change and they become like
mm,
demons or monsters, no? Suddenly they
mm,
change, and then they become so abusive, or they seek other people, or go start spending money on maybe prostitution, these kind of things. uh, and sometimes they get ill and they come back and give their other partner also. Uh,
mm.
so it's just chaos after that because there's no limitation,
Yeah.
right? There's no ending.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on this, Simon?
So the thing is, like you say, it's really never really, it doesn't really have a happy ending in any situation. It has never had a happy ending. It could start like a mere fun, but it always has a devastating end because, like you put it, there's just false expectations, right? You're a human being. You're not a machine, right? But most of these pornography scenes, you see 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours on a stretch. And for the simple-minded person, you think it's they just go. Even if they take drugs, it doesn't go for 4 hours, right? Because you're using strength, and then you see these things, and after that, you look at your partner that goes to work morning till night. He's stressed out. He has to deal with real life problems. He has to deal with clients. He has to deal with customers. He has to deal with family. He has to deal with you. And you
Mm,
expect him to stay with you 4 hours having sex after a very stressful workloaded day. It's unrealistic. It's
mm,
fascination and false expectation, right? That's one. And then there's the number two, where you, like I said, your partner has had a stressful day, right? Because he has another job he's doing. You're expecting your partner who goes to work, right, has to deal with clients, has to deal with contract, has to deal with customers, has to deal with the ideas on how to run a business. He's worried: is the next contract going to come? Is the next contract not going to come? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to? You're expecting such a person who goes to work every day to come back and satisfy you for 4 hours because the last pornography movie you just watched or thing you watched is saying you can go for 2 hours, 3 hours. He's stressed out, and naturally, a man cannot, even a woman cannot perform at their highest in any level when they're stressed. And stress is a real life thing. But in this one, and another thing people don't think about, right, is they don't understand that the partner is living a real life. The pornography movie or thing you've watched, that is the work they do. They
Mm.
live for that.
Correct.
They eat for that. They take some certain vitamins because that's the only work they do, right? That is their work. For your partner, that's just part of a responsibility for him. It's not like the major work he does. He has to do every other thing. And it's not to just men or to women, it's to both parties. Because sometimes we have unexpected, unbelievable, false expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another problem I see is when we've had partners who have more stamina, because it's natural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people have more stamina than some other people, and that's it. It's natural. When you've been in a relationship with someone who has more stamina than your current partner, there's this need for comparison. You start comparing partners and say, oh, you know what, my ex was could stay 5 hours, 50 hours, and he can stay even 30 minutes. And there's a lot of comparison, and people go back to pornography to try to satisfy themselves. I think there has to be a place of control, right? One of the reasons why many people fall back to pornography and depend on pornography till it becomes a very strong addiction is because there's a lack of self control. There's a lack of and it's a personal discipline problem. We have to come to the point where we have said, this, I think I have an issue. I should deal with it. That doesn't say if you have a high libido, you have a problem. Not necessarily. We all have different biological tendencies,
Yeah.
right? But when it becomes uncontrollable, that you can't contain yourself, there is a problem, and I think that needs fixing.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
true.
my take on that.
Yeah, yeah, sure, Simon. Eh?
Yeah.
That's why you see, like, some people cheating with people who don't do much stuff. Like, they cheat around with people because they have plenty of time and energy, right? So they slowly sneak in another partner who doesn't do it, like another. They cheat, but the real person who's really doing the work, when they come home, they find it another person, male or female, right? So because and then they say like, "Yo, you are not there every time. I used to have needs. Come on, no." So that's why like now it has gone so far. And then I saw like many documentaries about the people who are in these movies, what their life is. For example, there was a guy and all he does is these movies. Huh? So he goes and he takes all these protein shakes and all. There's he has like a routine just to look nice and all these things. And he does like sunbathing and all this stuff. And then he has to go and do this like it's his role. So he has his whole day for himself, like to get prepared for it. He goes to the gym and all these things, and then comes and
Yeah.
does it as a job, and he's paid for that, right?
Exactly.
So,
It's
but
paid for that. That's his
exactly.
job.
Yeah. So the average person is like, they have to go through their problems, no responsibilities, all these things. And when somebody sees kind of this thing and expect that person to be like that, it's
Hmm.
crazy, right? In a way. So,
Hmm.
so it can go either way. And then the problem is like, if it's a man, then he can start searching for more and more and more things. Even if it's a woman, then she also can start the same game, right? So it can go
Hmm.
in either ways, but it doesn't look healthy because there is no such kind thing called like satisfaction. Satisfaction means like there's not the end to it, right?
Hmm.
Because like when you see, I also have watched when I was like a kid, no, like a teenager, and then you want to explore more, right? Huh? Not now. I mean, like when I was teenage, we used to watch it, right? Huh?
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
but then you like want variety, different things.
Yeah.
It's not like you are
Exactly.
pleased with it, right? As kids, even like
Hmm.
or teenager, no? And then you want to have more. What is that? What is that? What is that? No? So think that same scenario if you put it into life. That's why people get more weirder and weirder, and they go after little children or anything they can grasp. You should see, Simon, like there are some channels they show like every day. So many bunch of pedophiles, people who are after like little children. they get caught. These are the ones that get caught, and these are like kind of like the normal people, not like these people in high places or like a big ring of things. None of that. Just on the internet, and they try to get and they get caught. Think of the people who don't get caught. Yeah, and the people who are not, cannot be touched by any authority or anything. No, or law of enforcement, they cannot touch these people. So think like,
mm,
so average person also can go crazy, no, over these things, and it's the worst thing is addictive. So they would spend their time, money, energy, everything,
mm.
and when they become like a sex
Eh,
addict
eh,
or a pornography,
exactly.
it will disrupt. If
Yeah,
it's a child, it will disrupt their studies. If it's a person who's working, they'll surely disrupt their job. Uh, and then if it's a marriage situation, it can destroy the marriage even. She,
yeah.
yeah, it goes into
And
ways. Yeah.
there is there's this thing I see, right?
Uh,
It's sort of dysfunctionality, right?
uh-huh. Sure.
Where people are not bold enough to have real life communication with other
Uh-huh.
people, and they spend their entire time soaking up and feeding off pornography.
Mm-hmm.
And because they have desires and they don't have communication, they look for and that's most likely how this whole pedophile thing comes, because they have desires, they can't have communication, or because they say, you know what, I'm an introvert, you know what, I'm too shy to have a communication, I don't know if I'll be rejected or if they say yes. And the children don't have a say. That's the reason why they use them as a more victim, because they don't know how to say no, they don't know how to say yes, they only have fear. And it becomes more like a major problem. It becomes more like a major problem. So I think if one should be able to accept, okay, there are dysfunctionality that needs to be fixed, and then go out and fix those dysfunctionality, because of the disconnect in the society, where people can have healthy conversation communications anymore. You find people sitting long enough with their selves, with their desires, and not having a way to like maybe have a conversation and get their desires guided. They brood on it, and when you stay long with a negative thought,
Mm-hmm.
it begins to create other negative and toxic thoughts, and it wants an outlet. And you know, the most convenient way for most especially sexual desires, it may be very much convenient to meet with somebody who you could pay and there's no problem, or if you don't have the money to pay, or you have a skewed dysfunctionality of desire, you find yourself getting to be more attached to kids. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really make sense. But I see it as some sort of dysfunctionality that needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure, sure.
And this takes me to my other question. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about the fact that there is a disconnect in the society right now, and there's no much room. People are not communicating. You see, when you make a post, people send love. They didn't even read the post. Sometimes I like a post I didn't read.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're smiling. Oh yeah, he liked it. I didn't read it. I just put a like there.
Right.
Maybe I know the person. I just put a like there. And
Mm-hmm.
you see someone sending a smiley. They're not smiling. So we're living in some kind of like pretentious society and environment due to social media and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And before now, there's been a little challenge, and that is the how do I put it now? The tabooness. It's my coinage, right? There is a taboo feeling to having sexual conversation, like we came to
Mm-hmm.
understand in our last conversation. The society snares at it. People don't feel comfortable talking about sexuality, sex,
Yeah.
but it's real. We experience it. It happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to talk about it. Most parents don't want to tell their children how sex happens. They feel shy to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's causing more struggle. So
Sure.
bringing that up, I'm asking, Why do people struggle to talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I take myself, I told about incident. No, like there's some younger people were talking about it very openly, and I felt ashamed.
Mm,
But when I reflect on myself and so at that time, it was my kind of mind. It was
mm,
my mind actually that was, but they had no problem. Not they were not talking about it in a dirty way. They were talking about it in a very educational way with the teacher. But I felt so uncomfortable. No, then I was like thinking, if these youngsters can talk about it openly, in a good way, why in the world am I like really feeling shy about it? Huh? So then actually it's my like, for example, there are some songs, no, like, and when they play it, they say like, oh, what in the end they put like, what were you thinking, or was it your dirty mind?
mm,
And then
mm,
actually the meaning of the song was something different. But actually, when
mm,
you hear it, like, what is that really? Is it something dirty? So the way
mm,
we interact with these things also are different. Uh, so in a way, with respect, a parent can feel sometimes, oh, how can I explain this to our children? But what you say is so true, because if they don't give that parent talk to them, they can go in many directions searching for this, no? Or exploring these
mm,
things. I saw like recently a video in some first world country how little children are uh, okay. So yeah, Peter, please, you feel free to talk about it. So Peter also wants to join, Simon. So yeah, I saw like these young children uh, in their 13, 12, and they were taken by others and then introduced to elderly men, and then because they thought like they were treated very well, no, and these people were some powerful people, and then they started like using these children and handing the one after the other, and they were threatened, and then they said like, if you don't do these things, we'll take care of your parents also, or even your mom.
mm,
So these children were in fear. So this went
mm,
on and on and on until luckily, in few occasions, the police got to know and they caught these people. But it took another
mm,
3 or more years to, even if they had evidence, to prove it. And the children had to relive it again in courts, giving statements, all these things. Huh? So,
mm,
yeah, if the parents don't do that part, huh? And then nowadays there are so many things, and we cannot say it's taboo anymore, because you see, like in musical shows or like other places, like it seems so open, and even some weird aspects of it,
mm,
right? Things you cannot even
mm,
imagine. Lesser the clothing, and then some things like rituals. You don't know what is that. Is that a musical show, some kind of witch thing or something, right? And these are like
mm,
famous
mm,
people, uh, and and what they're talking on these talk shows and these kind of places, like it seems very, so actually, n- nowadays there are, if we have a genuine talk with a child, that's much more better than what they are introduced through society actually. Even in some first
mm,
world countries, like
mm,
they have some programs and the parents are really angry with it, because children are introduced to change their gender in at about the age of 6 or 7,
mm,
and there are like books and all that are so disgusting, even adult cannot read them. So when it's
mm,
put into their minds, and then there are like classrooms or teachers that come and teach these kind of things, so then there are parents who come to the classroom and also confront these. We are paying, and for not for our children to learn these kind of things. Uh, so,
mm,
so if a parent can have a direct talk, but if they feel like something, actually, it's something to do with their minds also. Uh,
yeah,
feel, but out of respect, they can feel, but it's not in a bad way, right? They are not sexualizing or
mm,
anything like that. No, they are trying to educate them.
yeah,
Like you said, otherwise they can fall into
yeah,
troubles. No.
yeah. Uh, so like what I wrote here, you spoke, it's a mindset problem.
Uh-huh.
It's a mindset
Exactly.
because I say it always. It's mindset over matter. It's perspective over matter. How you see the situation will determine how you interact with the situation. If you see it as sexualizing or bringing in information that the children are not ready for, you will not be comfortable speaking about it. But
Mm-hmm.
when you see it as educating, protecting,
Sure.
creating awareness, you then find a way to talk about it. There's a way you can talk about
Mm.
it without causing harm to the child, right?
Sure.
I've seen parents who tell their children when an adult touches you in funny places, say something.
Mm.
Now you've protected that child because when something like that happens, the child comes to you and say, "Oh, this uncle, this auntie was touching me in funny places. I don't understand." And the mother went ahead to say, "This is a funny place. This is a funny place. This is a very funny place. Nobody should go there." And
Mm.
when something like that happened, the kid came and said, "Mommy, this uncle touched me in a very bad and funny place." And then going back to pornography, we have to come to the point where we are able to conveniently talk about our pain. And that's the reason why I always talk about the fact that coaches, counselors, and therapists, they are underrated in our society today.
Mm.
One of the major things I think most people need is to have conversations with the right people that can help them. I did a post recently, and in my post I said, your a coach is not your friend, right? A coach is not your friend. A coach is there to tell you this thing is wrong, this thing is right, don't do this again. A coach is there to guide you to get your. But your friend could just, just give you a gun and say, don't do it again. It's not good. Just
Mm.
they will not tell you how it is. But when you work with a coach, when you go to meet somebody, they're trained for this. They are experts at this. They know how to guide you. They understand. Just as doctors, when someone is sick, they know the right medications to give to an individual. So I think one of the things is people need to be bold and be able to speak up more.
Mhm.
And we have here Peter say, I think the old people are not talking about it because they are ignorant about what to communicate. And that's very true.
Yeah.
There's that part also, the ignorance of what to say. They don't know how, not necessarily because they do not know what it is, but they don't know how to communicate it, right? And you have to be careful, like you said, Sanji, you have to be careful not to sexualize but to educate. There's a way you share the information. Instead of helping to guide and protect, you raise curiosity to go and explore. So we have to also be careful, and I think that's another reason why adults don't communicate with younger people.
Mhm.
How can someone overcome the shame and the guilt of being a porn addict so that they can freely talk about it? What
Mhm.
are some of the practical ways that someone can overcome the shame and the guilt? And also, how does keeping it a secret affect in the long run?
Oh, okay. So I'll just update some facts. Then it will be easier for us to understand, Simon, since we are talking this topic. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, pornography. We can see like there are many ways it affects us. Uh, so uh, uh, so there you can see like people lose control. The tolerance, like how to say, like people start watching for extensive time periods, no, and yeah, so the satisfaction part reduces, and then the compulsive use, no, like people watch pornography repeatedly and feels like unable to stop even if they want to. Some people want to get out of it. I have met in sessions and all people like that. They feel very ashamed also. And not only that, there are like, even if they try to withdraw, there are symptoms like irritable. They become irritable, like anxious, depression comes in, or even cravings. No, when they try to stop. And then there are like the negative aspects of it, like the negative consequences actually. No, that impacts work, school, relationship, self-esteem, for that matter, uh, and even the sexual functioning. So and then we can see like psychological and neurological. So there's like a huge like a dopamine release. So watching porn releases dopamine. Uh, so there's a like a they feel good, but the worst is like, it can, when the addiction counts in, like they need more of it, like any other thing. And then there are like their whole brain system is like rewritten or rewired because of the craving. And then they want more and more. It goes like escalation, no, like they want more. So then there will be behavioral patterns, no, watching uh, for example, that they would do it in very risky situations also. For example, at work or even school, it happens, right? And then they'll be prioritizing like more than romantic relationships or real relationships. They'll prioritize porn and feeling shame or guilt, uh, but still continuing the behavior. And some people even lie towards themselves about the usage of porn. And some people use it as an escape for like stress, loneliness, depression, but it has the negative effect on them. So in life also, it increases feelings of shame, low self-esteem, even self-worth,
mm,
and there can be mood swings, irritabilities. Socially, like they can avoid society, and difficult forming
mm,
intimate relationships also, and
mm,
distrust or conflicts in like romantic relationships. And the worst is like even their own sexuality, they will have problems, like uh, yeah, like in functioning, because they see some extreme thing, right? And even orgasms or anything like that also can affect, or uh, the partner, about the partner. So yeah, there are so many things, like even trauma, abuse, uh, yeah, loneliness, these kinds of things. So yeah, if we see the harmful factors, there are so many harms through, like we mentioned, like it changes the whole brain structure. uh, so the dopamine, like it's like flooding with dopamine. And so they need it daily, like food or something like that, but it's less satisfying. uh, and
mm,
then what happens is in decision making, so it affects in like long time planning, these kind of things. uh, and then
mm,
uh, this can even affect through our mental process. uh, yeah, they wouldn't be like happy or pleased with a simple thing that happens, maybe in the relationship.
mm,
They'll need some extreme thing to feel fully satisfied, or they
mm,
even the arousal, right? Uh,
mm,
so people go through mental, the other thing is it slowly turns into mental health problems like anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. The behavior patterns become bad, like loss of control. Uh, and then yeah, compulsive viewing, no, they try to watch like some addict who's on drugs. uh, and then it can harm their relationships, uh, even reduce the sexual satisfaction. Actually the opposite effect happens. They
mm,
try to do like to have sexual satisfaction, but the opposite,
mm,
because they are not, they see these extreme things happening, no. And
mm,
emotionally, like that's a big part of a relationship, right? Even in a marriage or
yeah,
anywhere, but they feel very
yeah,
disconnected. uh,
yeah,
and then the trust issues and betrayal,
mm,
these kind of behavior.
mm,
And
mm,
if you are thinking about productivity life goals, there'll be a financial cost, uh, because they would need more and more and go to like more and more things to see, right? Or try to
mm,
really act those things like you said. uh,
mm,
and then it can turn into violence even, uh,
mm,
and then even turn into like behaviors that are very unappealing, no?
mm,
And you could see like all these people doing weird kind of things we get to hear, like even in public vehicles, no? And taking some photographs and all these things, no? Of people putting them and they get caught, sometimes beaten up, or the police takes them away. So it's even difficult for somebody like a lady to go on a vehicle, public transportation, even in first world countries,
mm,
right?
mm,
It doesn't matter, no, because it can happen anywhere, any place.
yeah,
So yeah, for definitely the youth and their development, children when they are, so actually people who want to like use abuse children, they show these things to them. Yeah.
mm,
And then there were stories like they don't even know they were shown this and they
mm,
start telling this person showed us this, male or female both, eh? And yeah, it can really destroy their emotional development, especially in young people, and the
yeah,
respect of the other sex even, right? Other.
yeah,
So let's come to your question, Simon. Yeah, we to talk about it, or yeah, there are now plenty of ways like people can reach a therapist or counselor, uh, and they can talk about these things, or they can reach somebody or coaches, these kind of people, and they can talk because these sessions are very confidential. Uh, so they
mm,
can talk about that personally. So there are like more openings in society, but it's not like some in the ancient times also there were incidents like this, right? People would go away out of their way or overboard in doing things, and then they had to face those difficulties which came with them. But if
mm,
they can understand, Simon, like uh, the damage of it, if they can find ways accepting it, acknowledging, like first, if they can
mm,
understand that they have a porn addiction, uh, then if
mhm,
once they acknowledge the problem, there's like self
mm,
honesty there, right? Uh,
mm,
then they can even, with the help of another, even track their own behavior and really
mm,
understand that okay, there's a problem here. Uh, so then
mm,
people can set clear goals, identify the triggers, replace habits. But when you come to your question,
mm,
Simon, when they identify and acknowledge that this is a problem itself, huh,
mm,
then you want help, no, you seek help because this is
mm.
not what you want in life. So that will
Exactly.
be a great
Yeah,
opening, Simon, for people to talk about it with somebody, a suitable
yeah,
person.
wonderful.
What are your
Eh, eh,
inputs
eh.
about it?
So from how you place it, this is how I got to arrange it and organize it in my own way. I said the first thing is awareness. You've got to be aware that, okay, you know what, there is a problem and this problem needs to be fixed. There is a challenge and this challenge should not just go ignored. We have to deal with it. We have to talk about it. If it's affecting your life, if you don't deal with it, it will keep affecting your life. And the thing about it is, it doesn't get better if you don't fix it. It gets worse. It's like a rotten meat.
Uh-huh.
You leave the rotten meat, it won't get to a point where it starts rotting. It will rot and increase the worms, the maggot it produces till it can't produce any further. So
Mhm.
it's not going to get better without being fixed. It's going to be fixed to get better. So you have to be aware. Number
Mhm.
two, you have to accept. Being aware doesn't mean you accept. You know, some people are like, oh, pornography, okay, good.
Mhm.
Yeah, all right, I have a pornography problem. Okay, that's all. But when you come to the point of understanding that, you know what? It's a problem. And I have said that I have a challenge. It may not necessarily be your identity, but I have a challenge that needs fixing. So when you accept it, and then you have to come also to acknowledge it. Yes, it is a problem.
Mhm.
And when you acknowledge it, you have to then become accountable for it. Like, I'm going to say, I'm going to see somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody, I'm going to do something that I'm not comfortable with in order for me to fix this thing that is making me uncomfortable, right? And one of the things you may not be comfortable with is talking about it. Like we just said, there is a societal tabooness. It's my coinage, right? There's a societal tabooness that frowns at it. I don't know why, but there's just been like some sort of maybe um, an estrangement to the topic of sex, right? There's been an estrangement. People don't want to talk about, oh, it's a bad thing. Well, you go indoors and you do it. So
Yeah.
does it? Are you saying you right?
Doesn't make sense, right?
If it doesn't make sense, if it's a bad thing, don't do it at all.
Uh,
You people kill people, and everybody knows it's a bad thing. But sex is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's just the usage. So instead of calling sex a bad thing, talk about how it is being used. Just as we say, um, um, in Christianity, they say money is the root of all evil. That's a lie. The love of money is not even the root of all evil. I don't want to be broke, right? I want money. I want to live wealthy life. It's okay, right? But what you do with money is the bad thing. Gone is not necessarily completely a bad thing. Maybe we would have been in a better society without a gun, but maybe needs brought about a gun. But in the hands of an armed robber, gun is a bad thing. In the hands of a policeman who protects the society, gun is a good thing. So gun is neutral. Sex also is neutral. How we use sex is what is the problem, not sex in itself, right? So awareness, acceptance, acknowledgement, accountability, then action. You know, it's one thing to say, I'm going to talk to somebody. That's one action. But it's another thing to say, I'm going to talk to somebody because I want to fix this problem. You can talk. We have had coaches who come to us and say, you know what, I have this problem. I know what I do. I want to fix this, and you guide them, and they don't take action after the session,
Mhm.
right? So it still falls back to the individual to take action to fix the problem. So for me, awareness, acceptance, acknowledgement, accountability, and then action. Action is more important. In fact, you can skip talking to somebody. If you're really ready to fix anything, you can fix anything you want to
Sure, sure.
fix,
That's
right?
great, Simon.
Great. So we'll attend to the question dropped after we round off. We get to the question. Um, one other question I have as we about to round up is, what are some practical steps that we can take to fix distance?
Yeah, sure, sure, Simon. We can go it in a spiritual way or like in a normal way also. So let's look into those. Yeah, like Simon mentioned, like action. No, it's like the most valuable thing to do something about it. But yeah, so like you said, like we can set up like clear goals of how to do it. No, like say, okay, don't do it for like 3 days maybe, then a week, a month. Huh? Then you can have a longer time duration. But start no somewhere, and then you can know like what are the triggers, like loneliness, stress, boredom, huh? Or even internet access, even no, and late night phone usage, these kind of things. Some people say like, okay, it's good to like see this and then go fall asleep, no, but no, it's the opposite, right? So we can use strategies to deal with these triggers. Like if you want to the equipment you use, you can have like things to block these things, block these sites if you know you are going out of control. Avoidance is a great way, and you can remove all those browsers or that things you or websites or anything that you use, you can remove them. Uh, and then you can start doing things like exercises or other interactions, and really go for like real time interactions with real human beings, rather than like finding some virtual reality, no, or not even, you cannot call it a reality, no, some fake thing. And mindfulness plays a huge role in all this. I'll tell you a nice story also later on. And we can create a support system like Simon mentioned, like tell somebody you trust, or there are even groups now talking about these things or discussing. Because we can use the internet for in a good way, and surely like therapists, counselors, these kind of people. Uh, and then we can replace pornography with health, how to say, like healthy alternatives, uh, which can, because if it
Mm,
was dopamine, was the stimulant, why not use something else for stimulating dopamine in another way, in a good way, without these
mm,
harmful things. And healthy intimacy,
mm,
like really find somebody, who, because you can find a partner who's like with your equal energy, and nobody's like preventing from people dating and no finding people. There are even sites for that, no, proper ones. So and self, in a spiritual aspect, like we need like self compassion, because it's, and even patience, no. So you can go to like yeah uh, we can track our process, what is happening. We can do journaling, even things like meditation and these kind of things also uh, are really helpful. So it's like we rewire our minds and brains to get like a more control of our own self. So if you are, so in long time also we can stay accountable, educated, stay engaged, and in a more spiritual way we can do lot of things also like that also, Simon. uh, for example, like we lose the connection with God and no, with a higher power. So because we feel guilty, no, and then, and in many religions these are not praised, right? So when you start like uh, acknowledging the problem with compassion, actually admit that we are struggling in this. So, and later we try to avoid that self condemnation and try to use the spiritual path. It could be any religion for that matter, using the positive aspects in it. Uh, like yeah, no, it says like truth will set you free, right? Uh, so or don't dwell in the past, or no. And so we can like use prayer for this, or even surrender, and meditation and mindfulness practices on a daily basis. Uh, or we can study like spiritual things, scriptures or spiritual readings or any kind of literature. It could be the Bible, it could be the Quran, according to anybody's beliefs, no, and their way of life. They can practice these things, and we can understand there's like more to it in than life than just watching a mere thing on a screen, which is not even true, done by actors or actresses, and which destroys our lives, right? We can have more meaning towards our lives. So there are even other practices like fasting and uh, like more deeper prayers, or even and there are practices like in tantric practices, or we call it brahmacharya in many religious aspects, like in many religious traditions, like we did last time. Like they take a vow of celibacy for some time duration, or tantric paths they call. So that brings like big creativity, and then you can do service for other people, or meditation and devotion. And we can use like sensor, like guard your sensory doors. Huh? We can use practices, these yogic practices, these kind of things, uh, to have more connection, more how to say, more mindfulness, and we can connect with a higher purpose also. Uh, like without always thinking about the average things. Our life is for a bigger purpose. Uh, So, and even if we had done something, we can forgive ourselves and move forward. So there are spiritual affirmations, like you fix your mind and the brains again. So there are so many things like that, Simon. We can do in a normal way as well as in a spiritual aspect also, religious wise or anything.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. So well, it's a mixed blend because you said it all. If one can pick all of this and do it, it's amazing. And I also come back to say that most times the reason why we are so occupied with these addictive things is because we have idle times. That's the truth. If you're very busy, very work oriented, or you have a lot of work to do, sometimes you come back from work, you're exhausted. You're
Mm.
not awake at night. You're sleeping. You're trying to sleep so you could get to work
Yeah.
tomorrow. But when you have so much idle time, you have idle thought. If you are a visionary who has something that they're trying to build, you have more of those things you're trying to build occupying your mind than sitting down to go through some pornography. Yeah, I'm not saying that's the entire story. Some people still struggle even with all the busyness, but that way it will be reduced. And you talked about purpose. When people are more purposeful, there's less room for pornography to come in or addictions to seep in. Maybe some sort of other addiction, but this pornography addiction would be there much. And I like how you put it at the beginning, self compassion and patience, because the process of leaving one, stop fixing the addiction problem, you have to be patient with yourself because when you start, sometimes you're going to struggle. You're going to fall back. You're going to have to come back again. You're not going to have a smooth sail. Sometimes you can abstain for like maybe 2 weeks, 2 months, and then one day you come back again. But I want you to know that you are not a problem. You only have a challenge. And
Mm.
every challenge can be fixed because when you accept that I am not a problem, pornography for me is a problem, but I am not a problem. So you can start looking at it as a third party and you start asking yourself, what do I do to stop it? Or what triggers it for me? We have to then look at the triggering factors. Do I sleep? Do I do it more at night? That way I have to find a way to sleep more at night, right? So
Mm.
you have to put all those things into consideration. Do I do it more at night? If I do it more at night, I have to find a way to avoid it. What gets me there is it when I see this or when I see this, then you avoid it. You have to observe yourself. That's another thing I want to say. You have to observe yourself and you have to observe your triggers and try to avoid your triggers as much as possible. Right. There's a question I wanted to ask,
Yeah, no.
but I think we'll take it next week. But we
Uh,
could also take it today. The question is, why do many people struggle with pornography or with any form of addiction, pornography addiction, most especially at night? Why not? Only very few cases when it has gone extreme do people take and go like do it during the day, but most times it's at night, most especially pornography. Why?
Maybe that's the time many people have like free time, and then the darkness come in, then those kind of stimulants. So for example, in religious practices or like spiritual practices, they say like, especially the dinner, like for people, like if they take like very rich food, then there's kind of like sexual urge is very strong. Uh, so usually like the people in monastics and all, they don't take like the dinner even. Uh, but people, and even this posture, no, like when we are facing like downwards and all, there's a stimulant that happens. Huh? So this sexual energy is considered all through our body, but what happens when that thought pattern arises, it concentrates to a particular area, usually our genitalia of male or female, no? That area. But actually that's why sometimes after the act, people feel very tired, even if they went to the highest peak of things, the of pleasure, but later, especially men, like they feel very tired and exhausted. Maybe the ladies, they can go on, no, and but so there's a time for like how to say recess procedure, no, to happen. So in night time, it seems, because like maybe the darkness and the energy is different. People are very active in the daytime, uh, and then usually like if it's a child or adult, they go for work or studies or these kind of things, and it's open, and you get, it's just very comfortable also, right? Uh, but in the night time, you maybe switch off the lights and do this kind of stuff even. Watch this in secrecy, because many people, even at home, they cannot openly watch this, no. uh, so uh, and in the night time, usually there's this pattern uh, that has more stimulant in it, and our mind is also kind of like conditioned accordingly. uh, so Yeah, so even in our dream stages, these can happen. That's why sometimes people ejaculate, uh, or I don't know about females, but males, they can ejaculate in their sleep also. Uh, so it also happens, no? Because in the dream state, uh, but and you need some kind of comfort and like assurance or security, also even to feel this intimacy or these kind of things to happen. In very rare instances, it can have their differences, but uh, yeah, like the coverage and all these things that are happening rather than a daytime. Uh, but there can be people who feel the opposite other way also, no, in other times also. But when it's more comfortable, and then it's like it's time, no. So even couples, they become intimate, no, in more in night time, and most of their duties and things are like already done at that time, or they have their own personal space at that time, and usually nobody just comes barging in, no. And so they can have their time, no, but still people find or make their environment as such. uh, they go for like very isolated locations, or away from society, it could be a hotel or someplace like that, and still become intimate. It also can happen, no, even in the daytime or even a morning time. But the stimulant and all,
Wonderful.
then the atmosphere also, these also kind of things really play their
Yeah.
role.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it. Like we struggle more with this because atmosphere is cool, it's cooler, it's calmer, there's less disturbance. There also the physiological factor you talked about where you are more relaxed, and then there's a desire, and then there's room for idle thoughts also because there's nobody there, and it's just many factors that come together to play, right? And it's powerful how you talk about it. Thank you so much, Sanjay. And then you talked about how we could use mindfulness practices to get to that. So as what we were gonna do is just answer the question we have
Yes,
here,
sir.
and once we're done answering the question, we go straight into the mindfulness practice.
Okay, okay.
So Peter says, during my research, I discovered nude images as artwork in ancient temples. public places, and religious centers predating the internet. I'm curious about their purpose. Could these depictions have served as a form of sex education or another significance? That's a very powerful question.
Yeah, yeah.
Sanji, over to you.
So yeah, then you can find this usually in palaces or places, and then in some traditions or religious places. For example, in some traditions, the mothers wanted to have babies, right? Uh, so in a way, that these artifacts, because they didn't have internet or these kind of things those days, no, and they could not tag these things and show even, right? So usually, like in these some of these places where like uh, it was like a palace or something regarded to that, these had these carvings and all on the stones. But if it's talking about these religious places, some places when ladies wanted to have, or a couple wanted to have children, these places or some kind of rituals were used as stimulants for them. So there are specific. I don't want to mention these kind of things. It's not like bad or anything. Uh, but when you see like, okay, what is this for, and why are they doing as such? Uh, then you can see like, okay, it resembles some specific sexual object, and they are kind of like paying tribute to that. Uh, so not in a weird kind of gross way, because they really wanted to have a child. And then some places like they were giving, but there are some places like they had like carved like the Kama Sutra maybe, the sexual postures and these kind of things also. But when they are going for places like where they used to keep the celibacy and these kind of, they don't put these kind of things. That will drive them crazy, right? So if they want to have celibacy, maybe as a test. But I don't think like in really directly, like, yeah, it's like you're asking somebody to keep vows of celibacy and you start showing them pornography, right? That's really like but for other purposes, in not in a bad way, but surely like kings and these people, they had their harems, and then they had festivals, these kind of stuff. And then these were like encarved and depicted on rocks, and these kind of carvings, paintings, these kind of things also. But when they are specifically talking about religious places, yeah, the idea was to like get a stimulant from it or as a blessing. And then they had the specific goddess for maybe giving new life or protecting children, or like when they have new life, or maybe the mother is pregnant or something. Uh, so then they used to make these carvings in those specific places, if that makes sense.
Hmm. It makes a ton of sense. Uh, Also, to add to that, I think it's like you say, for in different places for different reasons. If it's a cabin done in a child place, or where they do prostitution, the purpose is different. Maybe to cause arousal. Maybe in temples of fertility, they depict
Mm,
these images to cause some sort of arousal that makes the woman go back to the husband
mm,
after birth and whatever. So I think it's different places for different reasons, for different purposes. So for us to be able to answer that question, we have to then look at where where was the image.
exactly.
Was it in a temple? If it was in a temple, was it a fertility temple? So that will now make us say, okay, this is the reason why the image was there. But I believe for many reasons it's there to depict certain things. Just as um, in some certain flyers we see today, when they want to talk about sex, they'll put a sexual image there just to explain or buttress more of what they want to talk about.
Mhm.
And then when you go to some clubhouses, you see a poster also of um, sexual looking people, and it's for different reasons, for different places at different times with different reasons. So that's how I think. That's why I think
Mm.
that was. Mm. Yeah. So Peter, I hope we're
Yeah,
able to answer your question.
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please.
Uh-huh.
Great. Great. So everything has to be considered carefully.
Sure, sure.
Where was it? Where was it seen? What era was it seen? Eh, environment also matters. The ideology of the people also matters. Is it a very sexual society? So there are different factors to look at before we can say, okay, this was the reason. So that's basically it.
Mhm. And another final thoughts, uh, Simon, like this had become like a multi-million dollar industry now. There are actors,
Mm,
actresses, and then they are called some stars. And then there's like
mm,
sideline, these OnlyFans kind of stuff. Like people just stay in
mm,
one place and they do like try to self pleasure themselves, and they spend a lot of money.
mm,
And it's weird because
mm,
these people get like they become very rich, but these they
mm,
don't even know. And there are even things like they sell gross products of, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what kind of mentality, or I get a headache when I think of that. Was really like, and really I got something pain here. And yeah, yeah, bath water, or like I don't know what people. So that's what I'm telling. They would spend money, and these for like even their farts they would collect in their jars and sell. And yeah, it's disgusting, right? And even they're like underwear, I don't know, then they are like boasting about it, but yeah, it's disgusting. And these people pay, and because of these people are paying these such and such people, it's becoming weirder and weirder and even more disgusting, right? So yeah, so uh, yeah, so now the people's lives are getting ruined, children grow like crazy. There are so much like sexual assault problems everywhere. They see these things, and then when they cannot do it, they try to do it by force. There are
mm.
instances in some places like a pregnant mother who just delivered her baby was raped like a bunch of people. Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
elderly
that's
people
gross.
sexual assaulting like their own grandchildren, fathers assaulting their mothers, doing like things to their maybe son's friend or something. So it's all weird, and the categories they are showed in these documentaries and all are becoming more weird and weird. And they are trying to put in
Mm.
like mother and son, father and daughter,
Yeah,
these kind of
yeah,
things, like they try to put it together. So think what kind of society will lead up after watching that.
yeah. Mm.
So they'll try to do it by force if it's not happening to their consent, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they show like how to do it, right? Or they make it
Mm.
happen, no? Because when they watch again and again and
Mm.
again, they get these ideas, right? But they are
Yeah.
profiting from it. It's a
Mm.
multi-million dollar industry that didn't go broke at any time. Yeah, and
Mm.
they're profiting more and more of these people just watching behind the screen or a phone, a screen,
Mm.
and who are just paying them or just to watch somebody or all these crazy weird things. No, the worst is like it can go to extremes and they can assault other people, harm people. Uh, and how to say, like they can end up with diseases, illnesses, these kind of things, and the opposite of humanity is totally destroyed by this. Even the people who are acting in those, they end up with transmitted diseases, even psychological diseases like PTSD, these kind of things. So what is the purpose of all this? No, the people who are watching also fall into deep trouble. People who are acting also fall into deep trouble. And it's a creator. They say like even the stuff I saw some documentaries and it was said like if you know the reality behind porn, you would never watch it again. So they talk to these old people who were acting in this. It's just for a very limited time. Then they get kicked out because they are no use for them. No. So they have to do multiple sessions after sessions, and some are very abusive or like they also get like assaulted there. Huh? and they have to just do it without any, and there are like a bunch of people watching it, uh, and they are videoing and they like edit it, and if it's some kind of sorry some kind of like movie, it is a movie, right? So they edit it and it's not realistic, and they have to take supplements, all these things to keep themselves functioning. And some of the things that they show as they are so pleasurable and all, or even like bodily fluids, they have to pretend, it seems. So they use things like coconut oil and these kind of things just to show that. So I don't know what is true, and is it really worth it even? No, and somebody else somewhere gets rich out of it in a very minor rate of those people also, that they get
Mm.
rich, those actors or actresses. It's like the companies and other things are profiting,
Yeah.
so it seems
And
pointless.
also, yeah, and also I think there is a bigger propaganda that people are not seeing. Uh, it's destroying the society, and I think there are people pioneering it. That is my thought, right? I think it's being pioneered by people, and people are also allowing other people who are pioneering it destroy our society, destroying the fabrics of our family, destroying our youths and our young ones. We have to say no to these things. We have to fight it. If we can fight the industries because it's there, because they are immune to some certain governmental laws or whatever, no
Mm,
problem. But we can defend our children,
sure.
we can defend our young ones, we can protect them, we can safeguard them the best we possibly can. And as a parent, you can help your children by creating their tablets you give to them today,
Mm,
limit the kind of sites they can have
sure,
access
sure.
to, and educate them your way. Educate them your way. I'm gonna send a video to the group, Sanji. There's a very funny video I saw. I'm gonna send.
Mhm.
It's a nursery book, and it depicted the genitalia in a very funny way. But when you see it, you will understand it. It was really bad. It
Mhm.
was really bad. I'll send the video in. So
Sure.
these are things we have to find a way to protect our own and reach out to the people around. So next thing we have to do is the mindfulness practice. How can we use mindfulness practice to
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
please. Yeah,
Go
please,
ahead.
Peter. Please, yeah.
You you can unmute and speak. Peter, you can unmute your microphone and then speak. You have access to unmute your microphone.
Okay, thank you, sir. Wow. It has really been a great day hearing from the both of you. I've learned so many, which I need to communicate to my environment. Thank you, please. Okay. Regarding this topic, and as we earlier discussed, that there are some persons pioneering this agenda, and there are some persons which we can't touch. With the advent of internet, information dissemination has become a bit difficult to regulate. Okay, gone are those days when there was no internet. You can easily go to the location, go to the individual, talk to the person, stop the person. But now it's more difficult. I see some parents who also decide to put a restriction in their children's time. But all I see at the end, these same kids still go to school, use their friend's tab, since they don't have access at home to get the same information. They still go to the public system, search for the same information which they can't have access at home. So, and also in the internet, while I was trying to do my analysis, I discovered some of these sites. There are some restriction in quotes, which will say if you are less than 18, please don't view this content. Which means as a kid, I can see that information and I still click above 18. It still gives me the access. So to me, that's really not a good regulation enough to restrict access. So as parents or as educator, I will strongly advise that we should also teach the kids our environment to live with these things, but with a positive mindset. Because some of these things we can't fully regulate it, and some of these persons we can't really touch them or stop them. So while we try to do our best, we should also teach others to be able to guide themselves. Despite it exists, they should be able to make good use, not misuse of the word sex or the action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was a very powerful ad. And talking about the age, um, the age restrictions, then most times I think that those things are just basically there for the formality, so that most of this industry does not get penalized. That's basically the reason. Just as you see in cigarettes, and do not smoke if you're not up to 18, do not get soto if you're not up to 18, drink responsibly, and stuff like that. They're just mere regulations to, I believe that um, the main thing for parents to do is to train the children, educate, and that's basically what I think is the best thing to do.
Mhm.
Sanjay, what do you say
And
about that?
yeah, there are apps and all also parents can use to control these kind of sites, and even in browsers you can increase like the security. Then even pictures that cannot arise, uh, you can increase the level of security in the browse. But still, like Peter said, they will find loopholes, ways of avoiding. And I had to remind, like there was one time, how to say, like some there was a donation of computers, and in that computer donation there were pornography inside, and these for children. So the first thing that, like when you say that for the children don't do, they would do it, right? And they would find a way like to sneak in. So this was intentionally put into that. So this was for some school, and then there was like really in the hard drive there was pornography put, and this is from a different country actually, that came as aid or like so we as adults we have to take real responsibility, even like guiding, because yeah, like Peter said and all, the children will start finding ways, or without even the adults knowing they'll sneak there, and if one finds it they all will try to find it. And if it's like really intentionally put into devices, and even like what comes as aid, that's a real danger itself, right? So yeah, like we have to be very careful and like try to protect the children, and the young people, or anybody for that matter, ourselves as well as everything, because it seems like there are a lot of planning into that also, because you can destroy a whole generation, no? If they are put into drugs, alcohol, pornography, that's done. They become like zombies, no? They don't have feelings, they don't have intelligence, no? Not that they don't have intelligence, but their intelligence and all gets covered up by this. So there are things like that are well planned and executed also. That's why we
Yeah.
cannot just, yeah. So
Mm.
by doing this awareness, it's quite good. It's a good measure we are doing, and each of us will to have take the initiative and the responsibility also,
Yeah.
especially while helping children. No.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Sanjay. Thank you, Peter. We'll just move straight to the meditation practice, the
Okay.
mindfulness practice.
Okay. So yeah, please relax. We'll do for a short time. There's another program that happens in the war zone. So yeah, so mindfulness plays a big role. I'll just tell you a very nice story to show the resemblance or the importance. Once there was a very young person who joined a particular religious order. I don't want to say which it is, you know? And then there was a king, and he came to this place, and he was seeing, and he saw this young, very young person, no, very like he looked very smart and everything, no. And the king approached this young person and asked, like, how can you stay like this? No, because it was a place where they took vows of celibacy. And he said, like, you being so young, no. I, with my old age also, I cannot stay. Eh? And how can you just be like this in your, like maybe in your 20s, no? And then the person said, okay, like uh, our teaching say, like, if you can avoid, because in a religious way, yeah, like don't listen to the opposite sex's sound, or you don't even look at them. Then the king was like, no, that doesn't work, no. How can you stop avoiding looking at it? Then the young person said, in that religious order, he said, like, then the next step is like consider them as our family. Like it's you are talking to your sister or mother. Then the king had a smile and he said, no, no, in some cases that doesn't do. They go taboo, no? They do crazy things. That also really doesn't help. Then this young person said, like, how contemplation, like the body decays and then it dies, it inflates, no, rots and becomes a skeleton. Then this still the king had a like a vague smile on his face. Then like he said, like some people go to graves and they don't leave a dead body even alone. They are so crazy. They can even collect a skeleton and try to do something with the skeleton. Their minds are so twisted. Uh, then the young person said, if all don't work, be mindful. Then the king was like, yes, yes, I agree with you there. If I go as a king to my harem, with all the procession and everything and the drums and everything, I can come back like a king. But if I just go sneak into my harem, I don't know what will happen to me. And I cannot come back as a king. But because I am no fully aware that here I am going as a king, uh, I have to come back as a king, right? So mindfulness, he said, I agree with you totally. So all in all, like the idea is like, yeah, mindfulness, even without doing crazy things or worst of things in life, if we can be mindful, is it right? Is it not? What will happen? Uh, then it plays a big role. So let's use some practices just to feel the mindfulness. So we can use like vows of celibacy, because it makes if you want to make your thinking pattern very strong and everything. So we can take a few vows of celibacy. I'll just introduce them. So for example, in the meditation time, we can say like you can use any religious thing you use, a prayer or a mantra or anything you use, or a chant or a blessing. And some people call it mantras, but they are not bad ones. And you can use a prayer of some quote or something, or affirmation. Then after that you can make some vows for yourself. You can say, I will not kill, I will not steal. And within this time, just within this time, when you're practicing, not the other time, you can relinquish this anytime. It's not for like monastic people. They do it for a long time, no? But civilian people, they can or anytime take it, which is a good thing, and they can relinquish it, keep it aside. And then can say, I will not kill, I will not steal, I take a vow of celibacy. Just within these 30 minutes or few minutes or anything, it really matters. Then I would not lie. I will not take intoxications. But nobody does these things when you are doing things like meditation, no? So it's very easy to protect. As soon as you finish your meditation, you can say, I will not kill, steal, I will not cheat, I will not lie, and I will not take intoxication. So that will relinquish that vow of celibacy. That's simple as that. But it brings very high brain power, even energy. Even our sexual energy turns into like physical and mental energy. There are things called chakras, lot of things happening. Uh, so it cleanses the body, cleanses the mind. Lot of things can be done. There are things called chakras, nadis, energy points. Lot of things can be done. So try to relax first. You can use the breath to relax. You can use intentional breaths, breathing in and breathing out intentionally. let yourself feel like the whole body is breathing. And then slowly you can relax parts of your body. Like, for example, if you are releasing a clenched fist, with your mind, you can release and let go. Like that, you can release parts of your body. That makes it more comfortable. So, from the top of your head to the forehead region, then the eyebrows, then the eyes, then the teeth and the tongue, sides of your face, back of your head, the neck region, back of the neck, your shoulders, the chest area, abdomen, upper back, lower back, even the arms will release and let go right up to the fingertips of each arm. Then see whether you are seated comfortably. You can do it in like laying down posture even, or just when you want to go to sleep. And then the legs also, the upper parts of the legs, knees, the middle part of the legs, and from the ankle downwards, right up to the toes, just like the arms. Later it becomes like you are under the shower. Then after that we try to feel how it is. And when we bring our attention to the heart region, we are in the present moment. That all these in these parts, mindfulness has a big role to play. And when you know your body and mentality, mind very well, you can even these big urges and these kind of things. I mean the unwanted things. You can see through them. You don't have to be a slave of it. Just be in the heart region and feel how it is to have a sense of peace of mind, or just letting go of the past, letting go of the future. And if somebody is going through real difficulty, they can use like contemplation of the parts of the body. They can use like head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and skin. And they can contemplate on it as repulsive. Repulsive means it's not disgusting, it's as it is. So think of a time when you are working hard or going in the sun and there's sweat touching the head hair, and then use your eyebrow as body hair to represent all the hair in your body. And you can when the sweat touches the eyebrows, and then your nails of a hand or thumb, when you do some work, soil, dust, these kind of things can touch. And before brushing our teeth or washing our face or taking a shower, and you can use the term repulsive. That separates our five sensory factors from the sixth sense actually. You can do so many things. It's not a bad thing. We don't always have to be caught up in the five sense doors. The sixth sense is very powerful. All the special things happen in within the sixth sense. Even if you want to connect with God or higher power or anything, attain special mind states, all this is done by the sixth sense. Because five senses keep us tied down. And if we get caught up, and if we get caught up in the sexual desires or even going too much, we cannot see something beyond these. Now use something like the breath to make your mind very sharp. Focus on the natural breath. If you want, take some few intentional breaths. From the nostrils only. Then focus on the natural breath. If you want, you can use words like in breath, out breath in any language. That is like sharpening a edge of a particular equipment or a tool, for example, a knife. So that mindfulness can penetrate or cut through anything, even the biggest type of urges or uncontrollable desires, any kind of things. It's not like you are depriving yourself. No, it's not that. We are just removing the unwanted, unnecessary. So you can practice these things, and in our next programs or webinars or podcast, we can discuss these kind of things or what happened to you. So for today, we just to wrap things up, you can slowly bring your attention to your heart region and say, may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful, may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful, may all beings be well, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful. And then slowly you can bring your attention to your eyes and take this sharpness all through the day, and just know practice makes it perfect, even the simplest of things. Even if it's a very simple tool, if we get good practice, we can do so many things with that. Likewise, even the simplest of meditation practices, if we continuously use it, we can free ourselves from the entanglement and actually have very relaxed and a comfortable life. Comfortable means in the sense like some people, even if they have everything, they are not mentally comfortable. But some people without many external things also, they are very comfortable, happy. So we can have both external things as well as the mental comfort, happiness, even peace. With that, you can slowly open your eyes and take this to your entire new week, even your entire life. Okay, for today, we just wrap it around here. On another day, we do it in a bigger scale, even, Simon. Eh?
All right. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thank you guys for joining. It was really wonderful having you here with us today, Peter. Thank you, Sandeep. It's always amazing having you. So we see you
Okay,
again
yeah,
next week.
sure, sure. Oh,
All
you also
right.
a good night and a good evening. And
All
wherever you
right.
are watching, even in another
Good
place or
night.
other time. And Peter, thank you so much. And it was very valuable, no, adding your ideas, even the questions you asked. And it's very nice you joined.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, okay.
All
So thank you
right.
so much, Simon, for organizing all this.
Th-
And good
Thank
night
you,
to you all.
Sandeep. Thank
And
you.
have a good rest also.
All right. Good night. Yes, Sandeep.
See you soon.
Yeah.